Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Ministry of Sport and Community Development's Pink Rain Campaign inaugural panel discussion for 2021. You Go Girl. We're live streaming today at the Ministry on the Ministry's Facebook and Instagram pages. So we're very happy that you could join us. Share the link, send it out, let your friends know we're going to have a great conversation today. But before we get into our panel, and before we get into our conversation about our first topic, I'd just like to invite the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, Mrs. Angela Edwards, to deliver some thoughts on the Pink Rain campaign and our panel discussion today. P.S. Edwards.
Thank you, Mrs. Duke Westfield. Good afternoon, everyone. So our moderators, you were just introduced to Mrs. Nicole Duke Westfield. Our panelists, Dr. Dion Mitchell, who's a medical practitioner, Ms. Zulima Charles, fitness instructor, Ms. Jessica James, instructor and bodybuilder, staff of the Ministry of Sport and Community Development, and to all our viewers, a pleasant good afternoon. On behalf of the Minister of Sport and Community Development, who I will just take this opportunity to apologize for, she's still at Cabinet. She was scheduled to speak today, and I'm sure she will probably speak at another one of our panel discussions. So on behalf of the Ministry and the Minister, I wish to welcome everyone to the first panel discussion of our Pink Rain campaign. This campaign is designed to encourage greater female representation in physical activity and sport, and is driven by our commitments to international conventions such as the Brighton Declaration, other UN conventions, and locally, of course, our own national policy on sport. All of these mandate that Trinidad and Tobago create and promote opportunities for physical activity, especially among our female population. The panel discussion series will intensively explore the entire sporting ecosystem and how it impacts girls' and women's ability to exercise and participate in sport. We will look at several key areas in this series. The first being a combination of non-communicable diseases, mental health, diet, and exercise. A 2017 study by the Ministry of Health revealed alarming statistics on levels of activity and obesity among women. Therefore, our ministry has partly designed this campaign to address this burgeoning national issue. I am confident that our expert lineup of Dr. Mitchell, as well as our fitness leader, Ms. James, and Ms. Charles, can competently delve into the interconnectivity of NCDs, mental health, and an overall healthy lifestyle. All our panelists are eager to share their own personal experiences as well as the challenges faced by women they work with. And these insights are critical to us in the ministry in terms of developing or adapting policies and programs to better serve our women and girls. I wish to express my gratitude to our panelists for their own yeoman service to the sporting community, and I look forward to a fruitful conversation this afternoon. I also thank our moderator, Mrs. Nicole Duke Westfield, who will ably lead us through this panel discussion series. In closing, I encourage our viewers to ask questions about this topic and to tune into all the future events that the ministry has made available. You will get these details on all of our social media pages. I thank you. I do encourage you to participate. You are ably led by a very, very, very competent panel team. And so I'm sure many of the questions and concerns that you have will be answered by any of them. So I wish you a productive session and a good afternoon. Thank you.
Put your work in. Power up your game.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary, Ms. Angela Edwards, for your kind remarks. And also really, just to kick us off, especially following as well with that wonderful video that just kind of reminded us of some of the great women that we have in sport and so much to be proud of in Trinidad and Tobago when we think about the women who are leading the charge in sport. And that was just a snippet of the quality that we have in sports among our women. I just like to start at this point with really going back to something that the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Edwards, said when she pointed to our panel discussion. And really, today we are talking about tackling non-communicable diseases, NCDs, as they are more popularly known, in women and girls, looking at areas of mental health, diet, and exercise. And I think given all that we are experiencing today, especially over the last year, in the midst of a pandemic, surrounded by some of the more critical and maybe some of the more serious issues as a country we will ever face, I could think of no better time than to have this conversation. In addition, we have put together a great panel. As the Permanent Secretary indicated, I've met these women, I've interacted with them, and I couldn't agree more. So let's just get right into it because an hour can pass really quickly and we have a lot to say. Just to give you a little background, Jessica James, one of our panelists, is the founder Fit and Wellness, and is a trained, experienced, and certified professional athlete, having graduated from the University of the West Indies and the Iowa Central University and Abilene Christian University. She has 2 degrees, along with certifications in physical education, sociology, and art and science, and the art and science of coaching. Jessica is also an accomplished athlete at the Olympic level with qualifications. She's a 5-time All-American champion. She is a 5-time Carifta medalist, a CAC silver medalist, an NACAC silver medalist. So the list is really long and immense, and I just want to welcome Jessica. We are also joined today by Miss Zulima Charles. And if you recognize Zulima, you shouldn't be surprised because of her many accomplishments, not the least of which is her 10-year tenure with the band Ecstatic as one of the lead dancers with Marshall Montano's band. But Zulima doesn't stop there in terms of accomplishments. She's also a national bodybuilding champion, and now she's a certified health and wellness coach and personal trainer. The conversation that we're having today is also, can be seen as a very personal one for both Jessica and Zulima. But Zulima recognized that having been on a very extensive tour and having a very demanding job as a performer as well as an athlete, she recognized some of the challenges that many women face at the athlete level, but also even at a career level in terms of managing life, lifestyle, health, fitness, wellness, family, etc. So I'm really glad that the 2 of them can join us today. And then we are rounding off this great panel. We are joined by Dr. Dion Mitchell. Dion is a medical doctor. She attended St. George's University School of Medicine, as well as did her training her clinical training at Norfolk and Norwich Teaching Hospital in England. She's now in private practice. She's a general practitioner, but she has chosen to focus her area in holistic care with particular interest in women's health and care for the elderly. So, ladies, really thank you for joining us this afternoon. We have a great topic before us to discuss, so I'd really just like to get into it. The way that the panel will operate, just for everyone's understanding, is that we will have our conversation, as well as if you're joining us on Facebook and Instagram, on any of the social media channels, you can send in your questions to us. We'd love to hear from you and to sort of tackle some of the issues with regard to this conversation. So let me kick it off with Dr. Dion. Dion, we talk a lot about NCDs. It's a popular term even now in the midst of COVID-19 and dealing with the pandemic. But perhaps you can zero in for us on some of the specific things that we're talking about when we say NCDs in women and girls specifically.
Okay. So glad to be here. I always love sharing what I know, and I think education is power. And so I think we need to really educate ourselves about these things. Now, NCD refers to non-communicable diseases. And that means it's a disease that cannot be transmitted from one person to the next. These diseases are often characterized by a chronic, sort of slow progressing worsening of the disease with time. And the reason these diseases are important is because non-communicable diseases account to almost 60% of our deaths. That's a big percentage. And non-communicable diseases are usually avoidable because it's a combination of environmental, genetic, and behavioral factors. So lifestyle plays a big role in the development of non-communicable diseases. So that's applicable to women because a lot of these diseases we could avoid, particularly as we, because the genetic component you can't control, we have to control the lifestyle component. And for women, because we're prone to these lifestyle diseases, we have to pay specific attention to it. Now, these would include things like diabetes, heart disease, asthma, COPD, cancer as well would also be included in these non-communicable diseases.
Zulima,
So back
Jessica,
to
I'd just like to bring the two of you into the conversation at this time. And I'm wondering, based on what Dr. Mitchell has outlined, are you seeing, or to what degree, I guess, are you seeing some of these examples in your own practice in working with women? Maybe, Jessica, we can start with you and then go across to Zulima.
Having me. And these, sadly, again, it's a really, really tough time. I mean, going through the statistics, we allow the clients to, put the different ailments, different things that they go through, what they are dealing with. And right now, my list, one of my main lists right now is PCOS. We are right now, we have a battle, a major battle with PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis, diabetes, high blood pressure. It's just it's a really, really large list. But our main goal is to attack it no matter how small it is, just taking our time, trying to break down, trying to see what it stemmed from, because different things cause different situation. Mentally, people tend to go into deep depressions. So it's a whole holistic forum that we run in terms of trying to deal with that. But sometimes the situation is a little deeper, where we have to, steer them to a doctor, if based on the situation. But we try our best to attack these. But the main thing for our company right now is Pcos, diabetes, endometriosis, and fibroids.
Thank you. Zulima?
For me, I have had the whole run that Dion was talking about. So I've had those that had the metabolic syndrome. So basically, you have one person who is obese, high blood pressure, diabetes, and they may be smoking on top of that. So I have those. The metabolic risk factors are very high. I have those with autoimmune diseases. I have those who are just came out of cancer remission, and I have not experienced many clients with female reproductive issues or syndromes, but I have actually experienced that personally in that I have one of the ones that Jessica and Dion mentioned, endometriosis. And it just goes to show at that point in time I was on tour. I was doing maybe 3 FETs a night. I don't know if I dance for Marsha Montano. That's not high intensity interval training. I don't know what is. So you have someone who's very active, but whose diet was so poor. And I'm not saying tour life was responsible for my poor eating habits. I just did not know anything about nutrition. But basically, now that I know what I know now, I am guessing that my severe endometriosis happened because my blood sugar levels were so high because my diet was literally processed foods, fast foods, and sugar. It was fries, burgers, pizzas, and a bakery. So donuts, muffins, brownies, danishes. I had probably high sugar levels, and that's why I ended up with endometrial surgery in 2012. So, yeah, I personally have not had any issues or clients with reproductive issues, but it is out there, and I myself am actually one, one of the
Yeah.
many.
Yeah. All of those foods you described sound like so much fun to have at least one, but of course, put them all together, it's a dangerous
Yeah,
cocktail.
a dangerous.
And when I think a lot of people kind of test to the fact that, when you are in high intensity, high stress working environments, when you are on your feet or you're busy and moving, it can become very challenging and difficult to do all the things that sometimes you have to do, but of course, easier said than done. As both of you identified, in terms of some of those testimonials, in your case, Zulima, a personal testimonial, we see that diet and exercise are two of the main ways that we can combat NCDs, as in, eating properly, getting the right amount of exercise consistently, etc. And as I said, that is easier said than done. As personal trainers, how do you help your clients sort of reconcile the challenges of daily life and the realities of life and having to make sure that that balance is struck? Because I think a lot of what we are talking about, the underlying factor here is balance. Zulima?
Yes, yeah. The underlying fact, well, here's the thing, and I'm sure my clients are probably going to laugh at me because I am going to tell you the cold, hard truth. You cannot outtrain your diet. You can't outtrain it. So people would rather add an extra day. See, somebody would tell me, okay, so if I can I hold on to this soft drink if I add another day of training. That's how bad it is. People actually do not want to touch their diets. They just want to work out, run around the savannah, run up Chancellor, and not change how they're eating. And how I have to sit them down in a real way and reconcile their reality, right? And their fantasy and say, listen, real change is not going to happen unless your diet is taken on in a real serious way. It's the reason why it's diet and exercise and not exercise and diet. Diet is 80% of the equation. Yeah?
Yeah.
You can literally train now, reap all your physical benefits of exercise, and depending on what you put in your mouth an hour to 2 hours later, completely cancel out your workout and completely cancel out the benefits you would have reaped from your physical activity. Yeah, so for me, it's very important for clients to understand that your diet can either support your physical activity, help, or completely stop and send you back to that first starting line. Yeah, especially if you have an NCD. So for me, that is a really serious conversation I have with my clients. Even before we start training or a week into our training program, you have to get that down. You have to know that some serious change has to take place. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hearing my trainer playing at the back of my head, and if she were me on this call, she'd be looking at me with an evil eye because truth, as we say, hashtag truth. There's so much in it. Jessica, based on what Zalima is saying, I'm sure you're going to echo, but in terms of adding, in terms of your own clients, how do you come at it?
So I love exactly what Zulima just said. Um, Now we have, as a personal trainer, we have to make sure and keep it real, 110%. It's really, really important to keep it real. So what we do understand, one of my main thing was, sociology. So I'm always doing research and always looking for shopping around for the better options. And, in our program, it's more holistic. So what we do, we send just videos and different things breaking down what the food does to its body, what it does. So once we get our clients to understand what this do for your body, like it causes harm. Why would you want to put something that is going to cause you to that's going to bring on the Pcos, that's going to bring on the fibers. Why? I keep it real. So what we do, it's always like this cycle right here that we have right now. We are attacking nutrition, and especially right now, globally, you could see that money right now don't have any value. It's really about health right now, trying to stay healthy as much as possible. So this is a continuous battle. A lot of people eat for different things. They eat to feel good. They eat because they are depressed. What we try to do is just try to make our clients fall in love with yourself, and falling in love with yourself, and understanding that eating is a form of respect. Not only that, but if you want your body to treat you good, you have to treat it back with love. And this is what's going to bring on the results. So once they do that and they understand how important this is, number one priority in our program, it's no doubt, there's no getting around it. There's no oily, greasy, fatty foods, no sugars. From the time you put something that you're not supposed to have in your mouth, take off that 5 or 3 pounds that you would have lost. We're going straight back to the drawing board. Now, these things that we are having, it's not good for the system. So we continuously break down the process. We show you videos, we show you clips. There's the numerous conversations it's a battle with nutrition at this point, because sometimes one of our clients might try to say, well, I just had a little bit, I just had just one wing. No, that one wing, take off 5 to 10 pounds. I just had a little piece of flour. No, take off 5 to 10 pounds. Just take it right off. What you would have lost, put it back on. So in our program, we just try to really, really emphasize and focus on just trying to go more in the organic realm. If you are dealing with Pcos and fibers, you won't be having no set of meat, no set of red meat, no set of flour, no set of sugar. You won't be, basically just try to go vegetarian, because these are the things that are feeding these diseases. It's feeding. It's like a monster saying, yes, give it to me, and let me show you how these organs going to fall apart. So our goal is, it's a constant fight. No one is perfect. Everyone is human. We expect the little slip up, but we also show them, even though when you slip up, it's okay to slip up, but we got to get right back on that horse, and we got to go again. We got to go right back to the drawing board, and we got to keep fighting, because this is for you. This is your health that we are talking about. This is your organs that are failing. This is your organs that are falling apart. So we need to understand the seriousness of this, not just for a good feel, but for longevity when it comes to life, so that you are able to see your grandkids and your kids get married.
Thank you, Jessica and Zulima. That's brilliant. And keeping it in the realm of truth and keeping it real, Dion, I wanted to bring you into the conversation at this stage in terms of talking from the medical standpoint. In your practice, and I guess in the fraternity generally, are we seeing more women coming to us, women and girls with NCDs, and at what stages, whether it's younger, older women? How is that evolving for us in Trinidad, from your perspective?
Okay, so I remember when I was a medical student, things like PCOS were not very common. It was probably something like maybe 1 in 10 people you'd see, women with PCOS. And in my practice, and again, my catchment area is the San Juan area, I probably see 1 in 3 women who have PCOS or who have a history of PCOS, and have recovered from it. In terms of diabetes, I am pretty sure every month I'm seeing somebody that's presenting. So I have people who present to me for some other issue, and I happen to check their sugars or happen to check their urine, and I see sugar in their urine, or they have a very high blood sugar level, and I actually make the diagnosis of diabetes. I'm now seeing people, or women, I should say, and girls as young as 12 and 13 that are presenting with diabetes. I'm seeing women in their 20s and 30s now presenting with thyroid disease. That was something that was sort of restricted to women sort of over 40. They were the common group that would get thyroid problems. I'm seeing thyroid problems in 20s and 30s right now. I am seeing young girls as young as 6 and 7 that have started developing breasts, so precocious puberty. That's now becoming something that is common that I didn't see before. And this is over, I would say, over the last 10 years, I've seen this transition with these types of diseases. Asthma is way more prevalent. Again, when I was training, asthma was something that there was the rare child in class that had asthma. And now if you ask a class, you at least have maybe 3 or 4 children with asthma and allergies in the class. Again, that was not something that was this way, I would say 10 years ago. So they're presenting a lot younger, and they're presenting in severe or advanced disease most of the time now. That's what I'm seeing. People are staying home, they're sick and they're toxic, and they are waiting until things get really bad before they go to the doctor. And that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, yeah. And just for the purpose of our audience, if you could just define for us what PCOS is, and then maybe talk a little bit about, as you say, people are staying home or staying away from the doctor, maybe a little too long before they arrest the issue, and how we can maybe get across that, or get behind that and understand what people need to look at in the early stages.
Okay. So, people, when we talk about NCDs, we have to always remember that's where the role of your primary care physician comes in. That's why everybody's supposed to have a GP. A lot of people rush to see specialists for issues that really should be covered by the GP. And why is that? A GP knows you. In my practice, I see that now that my practice has expanded a little bit, people say, but it's busier. Isn't it more difficult? And I say, no, it's actually not more difficult, because these people have been my patients for the last 3, 4, 5 years. So the minute they come and they sit in my chair, I know them. I know their history. I know how they feel. I know how they normally look. So I can tell somebody who's not well, even though they're saying that they're well. And so the role of the primary care physician in NCDs must be emphasized. So I see somebody, I know immediately what's going on with you. I know the last time we did the test, we should do this scan, we should do that, and make these suggestions from the get-go. Specialists will not necessarily sit to fine-tune the issues with NCDs. So you see a specialist, let's say for diabetes, but that specialist may see you once every 3 months, every 6 months, correct? So if you have a GP, it's the GP that's going to order the necessary tests in between, follow your sugar, fine-tune your diet, and do all these things. And I think that's the big hindrance. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't need to have a family doctor. I don't get sick. But when you do get sick, it's already too late because you're now sick. You do need somebody sort of taking care of you as you go along. Now, PCOS is a hormonal condition, and it's quite common now in females, and it has a lot to do with that balance of estrogen and progesterone in the body. And the most common symptom of PCOS we'll see is probably, or I should say used to be, obesity. So PCOS had a presentation of a young female, and she'll be obese, and she'll have bad skin, and she will have issues with her sugar, she'll have issues with her period, so she'll have very heavy bleeding, at all. She may have difficulty getting pregnant, she may be tired all the time. Now we're seeing a whole spectrum of women who are presenting with PCOS, but they don't necessarily fit that typical picture. They're skinny, they eat relatively healthy, and they'll tell you they don't know where this came from or why this came. And so they don't fit that typical presentation. And a lot of it, I do think, has to do with diet. So just to emphasize what was said before, because certain things influence our hormonal balance. What am I talking about? One of the biggest things is chicken. How do they get chicken to be nice and plump in 2 weeks? They fill them full of estrogen, because estrogen makes you put on fat. You need at least 20% fat in order to menstruate. So estrogen makes you, so we eat these estrogens, and these estrogens are now in our bodies, adding on to the regular estrogen that our body is making. So now you create an estrogen imbalance. Chicken is also one of the highest sources of arsenic. So we tell people, okay, yeah, you can eat chicken. Chicken is not fatty. But let's think about toxins that are also in the food. Let's think about things like BPA. people forget that BPA was actually invented as a synthetic estrogen. And now what are we using BPA for? We're using BPA in plastics. So we have our water and our juices in these plastic bottles. It's leaching out, we drink it, and now it's disrupting our estrogen. There's mold. There's mold that grows on corn called zearalenone, and that actually has a structure that's very similar to estrogen. So you could have a gut dysbiosis, and it's creating a mycotoxin that's behaving like estrogen. All of these are factors that play into people developing PCOS. And what happens is that they ignore it and they say, okay, well, I'm just tired today, or I missed my period, that's okay, or it's heavy bleeding. My mother used to bleed 8 days and 9 days, so it's normal. No, it's not normal. And we've accepted a lot of these things with PCOS as being normal, and it's not normal. And my advice always to any woman who's having any of these symptoms is you need to get a GP. You need to sit and you need to talk all these things out so you'll understand what is normal and what's not normal. I myself used to have 8-day cycles, 8-day periods, and I thought, okay, well, that's fine. Until I realized, no, I clean up my diet, I start exercising, I do what's right, and it went right down to 4 days. And so it's oftentimes those little issues we have to figure out, particularly with PCOS as well, anemia, low blood counts. Most of the women with PCOS have a low blood count. And I always say to them, you have to fix the blood count first. If you're not fixing the blood count and the anemia, nothing else is going to fix itself. You're literally depriving your body of oxygen. So they try to do this and they try to do that and they try to exercise. And I have to tell them, no, you can't. You need to fix the anemia first. If you're not supplying the right nutrition to the muscles, you're not supplying enough oxygen to the muscles, your recovery is going to be different. You're going to feel sore, you're going to have pain because there's not enough protein to fix it, there's not enough oxygen to fix it. So training gets affected. So you have to deal with those issues first before you even start talking about anything else.
Yeah. Thank you, Dion. I think a lot of what you have said would resonate with a lot of women on the call, and men as well, because but particularly for the women. I think that, as you spoke, it really brought home to me the point about that we have been talking about balance, about having to manage your diet in particular. So you're right. A lot of us would believe that chicken is the go-to. It's the easiest thing to prepare, and you're safe with chicken if you are looking to manage your eating habits, as opposed to any other type of meat. But then again, there are all those other things that we have to look at. So even balance in terms of how we prepare our foods and our diet. Jessica spoke to the question of eating more organically. And I really wanted to make a point and maybe punt it back to you all in terms of the cost of eating healthy, and how, as women, particularly women who are managing families, whether they are doing so on their own or in an extended family situation, the cost of really developing a healthy eating lifestyle. Zulima, if I could go to you in the first instance, in terms of maybe some of the suggestions that you have proffered to some of your clients in terms of simple things that they can do that can help people, really achieve that kind of balance in terms of their eating.
Sure, no problem. So I fell into, well, as you know, I came out from bodybuilding. And so I went straight to, the foods that they recommended: the quinoa, the brown rice, asparagus, spinach, arugula, those things, foreign imports. And the bill got quite high. Yeah, even if you look at a basic, a generic food plan, they tell you one turkey breast, etc. And by the time you really add these things and go to the cashier, I mean, you're broke, right? So eventually there was a time I was prepping for a competition and funds were a bit low. And so I was like, okay, spinach, dark green leafy vegetable, bhaji, bhaji. Callaloo's a dark green leafy vegetable with healthy fats. You have coconut milk, right? I don't need the asparagus. You can get string beans. It's available. Just go to the market. So, for example, You have callaloo, you have bhaji, you have dashin bush, yeah. You have local spinach, right? You have lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes. Those things do work, right? You have your ground provisions. You have your plantain, you have your sweet potato. So you don't have to go off and buy the quinoa and the brown rice and the couscous or whatever, right? We have our own locally grown organic foods available. Yes, we are in an island. Coconut milk is widely available, but some healthy fats. We have nuts. You don't have to blow your budgets and go crazy and buying all these organic imported items or the stereotypical American well healthy diet, which by down here you have to multiply by 6. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yes, thank you. And I mean, even for, I have a very good friend who visits the market every Saturday. She is a strong proponent of that. You know, go to the market, you discover all sorts of things there, and it has helped her. And she always, you know, she always lets us know, and she always tells us it helps you to keep your bill down. And I think that's a very important plug. I know this is the Ministry of Sport and not the Ministry of Agriculture, but I think it's an important plug across the board, you know, for really hitting it local as well. Dion, let me just get back to you quickly because we do have a question coming in from our Facebook Live, and I really want to thank people for sending in their questions. We have an interest we have a question here where someone has asked, how do you fix or improve your blood count?
Okay. So can I just make a little mention about what we just said about the diet and eating local? Because it's something I always think is worth thinking about. When we look at Eskimos, okay? Eskimos, they live in the Arctic region, and their diet consists mostly of fat, right? Because they eat seal, they'll eat whale. It's frozen in the ground, so there's no greens. So then why do they have some of the lowest risk of heart disease? But we like to blame fat as being the cause of heart disease, right? But the Eskimos eat a lot of fat, but they don't have heart disease. Why is that? They don't eat greens, but they have good blood counts. And I believe part of it is that the food that's grown in your climate is what you should adapt to. If an Eskimo came to us and was living in Trinidad and Tobago, they can't come and eat the Eskimo diet here in Trinidad and Tobago with all that fat in it. You'll have to eat the diet that's here locally. They'll have to start eating greens because that amount of fat in this diet will not serve them well health-wise. So I'm always an advocate, eat what's grown in your country, in your climate, because it's there for a reason. It's there. All our foods are full of electrolytes. Why is that? We're in a hot climate. We sweat a lot. We lose electrolytes a lot. And that's why, you know, we have all these abundance of fruits. You don't get that in other places. So eat what's local. So back to the blood count. So remember, there are 2 major components that you would need to build your blood. One would be protein and one would be iron to form a molecule that we call heme. Now, most doctors, I shouldn't say most doctors, but yeah, they would do a blood count, which is a CBC, and you'll see on it hemoglobin level. Now, that is your red blood cells. Now, what I normally suggest is anybody who's having difficulty with anemia, you should also do what we call a serum ferritin, and that's sort of your stores of iron. And that's important because you can have a good blood count, but your stores are low. And it's like having a savings account, but you're taking money every day out of your savings account to pay your bills. So at the end of the day, your savings account is zero. So therefore, you'll start taking supplements, you'll feel better because your blood count goes up. And a month later, you're right back where you started because you didn't have any reserves to continue building up your blood count. So most people, when they try to treat their anemia, they'll come and they'll say, well, I took that for a month, I took that for 2 months, and it's fine. And the answer is no, it's not fine because you did not replenish your reserves. Remember, every day our red cells die, so every day we need a certain amount of iron. Then we have this deficit, of course, because you're anemic, so you have to fix that. And if you have a deficit, it means your reserves are gone, so you have to replace your reserves as well. And then on top of it, as women, we have a monthly cycle. Do you really think we can accomplish getting enough protein and iron when you're already at a deficit? No, you'll have to supplement. So a great diet is fantastic, and a great diet is all you need to maintain. But in a lot of cases, you have to add a little bit extra supplementation if you want to fix those issues. So protein, iron, B vitamins would be the way to go. You can do natural sources. You can add like the bhaji and the pak choy. But a lot of people tend to have issues with digestion. And because they have issues with digestion, they don't absorb the iron well. So in some cases, you have to add some vitamin C to that in order to help build it up. But essentially, I think the biggest issue is consistency and the length of time needed to correct or replenish your reserves to give you that long-lasting results when it comes to your blood count.
Thank you very much for that, and I hope that the audience or audience member online that you were able to get what you were looking for out of that. As you know, as a reminder, continue sending in your questions. We are on live streaming on Facebook, so please continue to send in your questions. Ladies, I wanted to turn to the question of really maintaining a healthy exercise regimen. Now, I consider myself a weekend warrior, so a lot of I try to do as much as I can during the week, but of course, Saturday, Sunday, you push yourself because of your schedule is a little relaxed. And I know there are a lot of people who think that, if you are in the gym or maybe even not in the gym, as most, gyms may be closed now, but if you're pressing a lot of weights and you're really pushing yourself and you run around the savannah or you're in a spin class, etc., you're doing all of the right things. And then you look at yourself or you look at it and you say, but I'm just not getting that result. Why am I not looking like, Serena Williams? Why am I not looking like Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo at her age? What is the thing that is keeping me back? Jessica, just so, you're an athlete. You've really performed at a high level. You understand, and you've been working so closely with women in really shaping the female body and the female form. What are some of the things that maybe you have recognized from that exercise perspective? And then Zulima, I'd like to take it to you as well in terms of getting your perspective. So, Jess, if we could start with you.
Sure. So there's this mirror effect that I allow my girls to do, is to look at yourself in the mirror and speak nice things to yourself. Because sometimes what we do as women, we tend to just get up in the morning, whoosh, put on makeup, whoosh, and not take a good look at ourselves. And sometimes even if we do take a look at ourselves, look how I looking fat, look how I looking ugly, I'm working out and this not happening. So what I encourage my girls to do is to look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And even if, because sometimes the little fall offs can be, everyone body types are extremely different. Everyone metabolism different. Sometimes you might see someone, Jennifer, losing 10, 15 pounds and you only lose like about 3 pounds. That time you would have had a little cheat in between. And that time Jennifer getting up, doing her homework, watching her meal plan, having her smoothies, having her proper meals, coming back in the evening, doing her little stretches, her little workout again, and Jennifer is on a regime. And sometimes, like again, everyone mental is different. So you have to look at yourself and be really, we as women tend to be extremely harsh on ourselves. And I would have seen that. So one of the first things that I let my girls do is to look at yourself in a mirror and speak nice things to yourself. Tell yourself, I'm going to do this. You start there first. You start with a mind. You start with a mind because it's easy for us to just say, the easiest thing is just to give up or say, you know what, I looking fat and I would never be like the Instagram models. And recently I would have showed up before and after with, with my belly bloated. And then when I realized, I would have came off chicken. I say, you know what, how come I getting this ripped six pack? I said, what going on inside here? This six pack play like it don't want to come true. But when I came off the chicken, I got the desired stomach that I wanted, but I never, in our sport, you always learn to go back to the drawing board. It would have taught me how to get licks today and come back tomorrow and go back to the drawing board. So not because you lost, do you know what 5 pounds looks like? 5 pounds of fat. It's a lot. And, we celebrate and motivate. It's all about motivation. We celebrate, motivate, and push. So it's about one, looking at yourself in the mirror and you know what, I am beautiful, I'm going to do this. Even if you lost 3 pounds, guess what? Next week, you're going to take your time. You're going to do better than what you would have done last week. And you would lose like, you would lose like about 6 pounds. And then you know what? You're going to realize that I could do better. This is how we use goals. We use goals to get to the next level and to unlock different levels. And it's about motivation, getting up, watching motivational videos, seeing what people are really doing. Because when you're thinking you lose 5 pounds, you have people out there who is 400 pounds, 500 pounds, who cannot even lay down to sleep, where it's life threatening. So we have to stop being so harsh as women on ourselves and just start there first. It's all mental. It's all mental, and then we start the process, and then we start working on ourselves internally. Because for me, it's not just about a look, just looking fit. Just you want to really be healthy on the inside, because you don't want the inside to be deteriorating, and I outside here hot as ever. So what we tend to do is focus on the inside, just internal healing, mental healing, motivation throughout the process. Sometimes it's okay, even if you lose nothing this week, you know what, you get back on the horse and you go again. You keep researching, you keep learning your body, because not every single thing is going to work for Jenny. Not everything that works for Jenny, it's not going to work for me. So we as personal trainers now, it's important to learn our clients' body, to push them, to motivate them. Some people, they work through one of our tricks that we use. We make our clients laugh. Through the process. We would talk to you even online right now. We can't do much outdoor, but just making them laugh throughout the day. Just making them laugh and understand, the importance of our body. Look at yourself, stand up, chest up, shoulders back, the way how you sit. All of these different things plays a major part, because when they now come in, no matter what program they come in with, the head here. I said, no, babe, lift your head up. Lift your head up, put your chest back. You are here for showtime. So it all starts here with positive affirmations, with speaking things. Because once you get that in your head, results come in like rain. And that's how we get the job done, by just laughter, fun, and making you understand that this is not a death sentence. Training is not a death sentence. This is your hour. This hour is minding your business hour. This is where you taking care of yourself after you complete, your whole day. And you come here to have fun, to work on yourself. And it's important that at that hour you have fun, you get the job done, you get your results. And that's how we do it here.
The self-talk and the self-confidence, and really, also keeping a smile on your face. Because, let's face it, the workout is never easy. The personal trainer is like, yeah, you could do it, you could. And you're in your head, you're like, what is wrong with this person? My body is going to crack. So I can attest to that, certainly. Zulima, in terms of shaping the workout for the person, I think Jess talked about, she talked about knowing your client, and really understanding what your clients are capable of as individuals. In terms of shaping that exercise routine and putting that package together for them, what are some of the maybe tips and tricks that you do and you look at from your professional practice?
Well, like I say, I like to keep it very real and very honest. So, what happens is that your client has an idea and an image of what they would like to look like, but might not necessarily want to do the work required to look like what they want to look like. So, you now are in the middle saying, if this is the amount that you would like to do, this is going to be your reality. And
Yes.
what happens is that people's mental games get thrown off because we are bombarded. We are now an instant society. You can do things instantly. People want results now. They want to see results in the space of a week. If it's not moving in a week, something is wrong. Yes, people rather go and do surgery than to go through the process of actually getting healthy and doing the work to come down naturally, right? So it's instantaneous. People want things now. And what you have to do as a trainer is to sit them down and say, this is reality. Your process may be slow. Weight loss is not a steady descent. It's normally very up and down. Yes. And for what you want to, where you want, how much investment you would like to do, this is your actual real results. And if you would really like to have a little more results, this is what is required. So for me, it's to keep them motivated, have them, first of all, enjoy the workouts, actually experience the workouts and realize that they can do this and that it's not just such a big task. Yeah. When they build the confidence and the self-esteem, because you're constantly pushing them outside of their comfort zone, and when they realize they're being pushed and they're rising to their challenge, they start feeling very accomplished. So their self-esteem starts to grow, right? They actually feel quite proud of themselves, and so even their mental, they're thinking that they can now actually achieve where they want to go. And from there, you just
Yes.
steadily add, well, how about you just cut out the soft drink, or how about you just start changing your brown carbohydrates, start changing your carbohydrates and start introducing some brown rice, or swap out the
Yes.
the pasta for a little sweet potato, and you just steadily add. Some clients, you have to do it like that. Some clients could go full turkey. Some clients need a little more tender and TLC. So again, it depends on your client. I offer a highly personalized service. So when I get to know your personality, I get to know where you want to go, and I figure out your level of investment. Then I could create a plan, to take you to where you want to go. But I'm also very real with you on how fast you can get there. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Keeping it real. I love that. Dion, I wanted to kind of come back to you a little bit on some of what we've been talking about. And I don't want to take away, move too far away from this discussion, particularly as it relates to young girls and young women. You've shared with us some pretty startling, statistics in terms of how young girls are evolving in terms of their bodies and what they're experiencing. The importance of ensuring that our girls get as much physical activity and proper diet seems to be so critical. And I think any parent would be concerned, given the environment that we live in now, COVID, having to keep your children inside, they're spending, most of their hours on computers, staring into screens. They may not be as active because they can't go out. A lot of children, I know for my son, he's been an active player and has not been able to play with his team for some time now during the pandemic. So I know a lot of parents have that concern. How do we, what can you offer in terms of understanding from your medical experience in terms of what can we offer to parents to help them through that?
Okay. I think Salima had mentioned about metabolic syndrome. And one of the things we have to remember about our metabolism, it's about supply and demand. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And that's classic. I mean, you think about people who go to the gym very often and they work out, and they lose the weight doing exercise. But the minute they stop exercising, the weight comes right back and it comes crashing down on them. And oftentimes they become sick. So metabolism is something that we have to continuously drive. So inactivity sorts of set our metabolism on a go slow. And when the metabolism is on a go slow, the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, all the other systems start to move in a manner to meet what is being demanded, which is nothing, right? And so that's where all these long-term issues start developing. So the child that they don't let outside to go play or to run around and sits in front of the screen all the time, just doing video games, that inactivity is what causes that slowdown in the metabolic rates. And when the metabolic rate slows down, they start to gain weight. And then we have the whole issue with obesity. And that is becoming, I would say, an epidemic as well. The rate of obesity, particularly in young children, is very, very high. If you look at any classroom, you're seeing young boys now with gynecomastia. That's where men developed breast tissue. You look at young girls, you're seeing a lot of them with that acanthosis nigrans, and that's the area to the back of the neck being very, very dark and rough patches. All those are signs of children who are presenting very, very early with low metabolism. And so for parents, we really have to get them out and about because a children's metabolism is high. They recover so quickly a child that will go through surgery and they heal very rapidly, the metabolism is made for them to keep going. And when we force them to slow down and not do it because you complain, oh, maybe they have too much energy, you actually do them a disservice. Children need to be out and they need to be active. It's actually the muscle pulling on the bone that builds the bone. So when they're going through puberty, they need to be active. They need to be outdoors. They need to be doing all those things to help them. So parents need to encourage their children to be active, even if it's just giving them chores to do, letting them have playtime. I know with the pandemic it's a little bit difficult, but I'm sure we can find ways. Run around the house. If you have a treadmill, do a little bike, do a little exercise. But children need to be active and they need to be involved. We have to remember that, a lot of these things that we're talking about, they don't just suddenly appear. Diabetes, heart problems, they don't just suddenly appear. They develop with time. And so cardiovascular disease in particular, without exercise, you're not developing your cardiovascular system. So that's all your blood vessels, your heart being able to pump. When you exercise, you're taking bigger breaths, so you're circulating your air better. So when you're not exercising and you're sitting there inhaling the same stagnant air all the time, this is why some of these children are prone to asthma and to a lot of these allergies and sinus problems. Even sinus problems is something, again, I'm seeing more and more children presenting with severe chronic sinusitis or rhinosinusitis, which is something, again, we didn't see. Before the Sahara dust even hits, I see children start coming to the office with their asthma acting up and sinus problems. And it's because they're trapped and they're not getting fresh air, they're not exercising, they're not doing any of these things, which is how our body helps get rid of these toxic substances. Right? Very important for bone health as well, again, in these little kids, because they have to be active in order to grow. And you'll see that in the child who's, aside genetics aside, who is very, very active in sports, and that child will grow tall versus another child in the same family who maybe wasn't very active, and they would tend to be a little bit on the shorter side. So physical activity, absolutely key to any metabolic issue, because once you increase your metabolism, the weight is going to come off. Weight loss itself will trigger a hormonal reset. And oftentimes this is the hindrance to women losing weight, because on one hand, estrogen would also cause you to gain weight, but then thyroid problems can also cause you to gain weight and not lose weight. Then we have to remember our liver plays an important role as well. So if our liver is congested with fat and all these things, it has no time to process these hormones. And then the adrenal gland, fight or flight response. If our adrenal gland, we're constantly stressed, what happens is we put on weight because our body's, storing up fat, waiting for that big battle to happen, which never comes because it's just chronic stress. So a lot of these issues have to be dealt with in parents and in children, because we do have some stressed children right now with COVID. And all these issues have to be dealt with the parents so that the child grows up with good lifestyle behavioral habits.
At the risk of maybe dating myself, you grow up playing games, hopscotch, red light, green light, who has it, red over, red over, red over. And I think, you don't see a lot of that anymore. The world has changed, life has changed, a lot more children are inside. Even the traditional notion that girls are inside, boys are outside, we really do have to kind of blast some of those myths and really get them out there. And it's not always easy for working parents as well, to be able to manage some of those issues. So I think it's critical for us to always find opportunities, get them outside. So even after they finish their class, they finish their Zoom school and everything is on, get them outside for a couple hours, bouncing a ball, getting some vitamin D. So Dion, I think that is really valuable as parents for us to be able to appreciate that, parents and guardians. We are coming up on the time, and the truth is that each of you are an hour of conversation in and of yourself and more. And I'm really thankful that we were able to have the dialogue and really to bring some of these conversations to the forefront. But as we're coming up on the time, I just wanted to kind of give us an opportunity to wrap up. I wanted to ask each of you to maybe give one or two short sort of things that you want to leave us with in terms of what are the top two things that you want the audience to never forget. And if I could prompt, I would want to say, let us also think about the mental health aspect of it. None of this can be possible unless the brain and the mind is intact. Jessica's spoken of that. But maybe Zulima, let's start with you. What are the top two things that you want us to remember in addition to keeping it real? Because I'm going to hold on to that one.
Well, the first thing is you cannot outtrain your diet. You just cannot outtrain your diet, right? Your diet is 80% of the equation. It supports your physical exercise. Actually, the benefits of physical exercise and a healthy diet are basically the same. The problem is you can derail your benefits of physical exercise with your diet. So you cannot outtrain your diet. The next thing is, I would like people to recognize that perhaps you may need to change the narrative of what a healthy lifestyle and healthy eating is. Basically, when you tell someone they need to change their diet, they think of it as punishment, as the fun done. It's now time to adult, it's now time to get serious. And the reason being is because food has this psychological effect. Since we're maybe around 2 years old, if you sit down quietly, you're gifted with a lollipop, ice cream, or something sweet. So sugar has always been psychologically our this kind of reward. When we have birthday parties, 3, 4 years old, it is soft drinks, ice cream, pizza, cake. We are celebrating someone did well in school. It's the same highly processed white carbohydrates. We are celebrating, anything usually. It's sugar, basically. So when you are literally telling someone that you are changing their lifestyle, that they have to make a lifestyle change, that they have to cut out your sugar, you're basically telling someone that their fun is over. You're basically telling them that your youth is over, the days of which you can eat anything and it not stick and it not affect you. You could eat anything and wake up with a six-pack is now done. And so you are basically telling people to face their own mortality. They now have to figure out who has high blood pressure in their family, who have cancer, etc. And we are now going from fun to mortality. And that is actually what is psychologically going on when people are struggling with maintaining their diet. They want to stay in their youth phase. They want to stay with the fun, right? They do not want to adult. They do not want to make the serious life choices and, settle and become the adults. Yes. So that is the psychological pull of the food there, of those types of foods. And so what you need to do before you start even telling a client that they have to change their lifestyle is that you have to identify that you have to change the narrative in that it's not now a deprivation of fun. It's now a new embarkment, a new journey in your life. That chapter of your life has come to an end, and it's not that you can't experience those foods. This is now a new challenge. This is now building you. This is now an opportunity to create a bigger, better you, a healthier you, and take control of your life and your lifestyle and to live to the best health as you can, right? So when you start changing that narrative first, and it's not a penance or a jail sentence to eat a piece of cucumber, and that it is an opportunity for you to actually grow. It's a new journey in your life as a human. Yeah. When that mental has changed, then the transition into changing and getting your clients into a healthier lifestyle becomes a lot easier. So I would say,
Yes.
one, you can't outtrain your diet. And two, don't see it as a denial or a loss of fun or a loss of a life. See it as an
Yes.
opportunity to embark on a new journey, to a healthier self and a new life. Yeah? So
Yep.
that's the two
Yep.
things.
I am going out and getting cucumber.
Yes.
Jessica. Jessica, I'm taking it back to you.
Yes, and I love how Zulima, she cannot emphasize, you cannot, don't you, and again, don't you ever think that you could do that. It will not happen. It cannot happen. But one of the main things I always tend to focus on is the future. So, like we was just talking about our kids and getting them active. We have an online program as well that we allow our kids, to train with their parents, to kind of bond with them. Because I tend to think more about long term, who's going to be the next Usain Bolt, who's going to be the next Sanya Richards. And, that's one of the main things that we focus on, because we could see what's happening right now. Self-love, COVID would have driven 95% of the people, right now, in deep depressions, high obesity rates, just a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and the two main things that I want to leave you with is don't be so hard on yourself. You need to understand that life happens. And even when life happens, what you going to do? Are you just going to fall back, fall off the horse and just lay down there and watch that horse ride away from you? Or you're going to hold on to that horse. You're going to get right back up on it and you're going to ride and you're not going to give up. And in life, you're not going to give up nothing. Anything good, it have a task behind it, and you need to not give up on anything. It doesn't matter whether if it's your goals, your dreams, your aspirations, your diet. It's all mental, so do not give up. Stop being so hard on yourself. Look at yourself in the mirror and speak nice things to yourself and understand that life happens. It's okay if you had 2-3 kids. Listen, put in the work and snatch that back. And it's okay if you
Yes.
fail sometimes. It's okay. Failure, that's all right. Go back to the drawing board and keep fighting. Stop falling off the horse and just giving up and just settling for less. I want you to hold on to the horse. Don't watch it right away. Hold on and get ready for the ride. Because right now in life, nothing is going to come easy. And do not
Yep.
forget, the kids, the children are the future. Right now, things not looking so bright in terms of sports. And I want you to encourage the kids to keep fighting as well, get them active. Get them active. I had one instance and I could never forget that, where the kid, her mom into physical activities, and the kid, she didn't even notice that she'd been behind the computer so long, sitting down, crouching, that when she started to work out, her whole body was weak. It was
Yeah.
weak, her bones, her muscles, and she was like, I don't think I could do this. And then 3 weeks later, we
Yeah.
in the grass sprinting in the sun. I said, come out, let me go in that sun. So I encourage you to push the kids. They are the
Yes.
future. We are the
Thank
leaders,
you.
they are the future, and we need to set that tone. So I'm encouraging you to be strong for them. I'm
Thank
encouraging
you.
you to be strong for the children of this future. So again, look at yourself in the mirror morning and night and don't give up on yourself. And remember that you
Yeah.
have little ones looking up at you. And that's my advice.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica. Dion, if we could go back to you in terms of a couple of things that you want to leave with our viewers, our audience
Mhm.
today, in terms of all that you've said.
Okay. So I want to emphasize, like we've all spoken about, diet is key. But on the talk of mental health, I just want to mention that sometimes mental health is also related to our diet and our medical issues. And I make a point because we forget often that estrogen makes us female. Estrogen makes us feel beautiful, it gives us vibrancy, it makes our skin glow, it makes our hair grow, it gives us confidence. And we have a lot of women that are walking around dejected and depressed, not realizing that there's an organic basis to their depression, which is that their estrogen levels are off. We have women walking around with anxiety, and oftentimes it's anemia. They have a low blood count, they're feeling this palpitations, and they get this nervousness, and they think, oh well, that's just me, it's because I'm under so much stress. But oftentimes there's, like I said, a medical basis to some of these mental issues that we suffer from as women. A lot of women will tell you, just before their period, they feel depressed for no reason, they cry for no reasons. Again, It's this balance of hormones that's creating it. So don't always accept these mental challenges as always just being mental. Sometimes there is a biochemical, there is an organic, there's a medical reason behind it, and it's worth checking out if you feel you're one of those people. Don't just accept it, check it, fight it, get help. Sometimes a change in the diet, because I do believe we are slowly poisoning ourselves with our diets. And this is why we have these challenges. So mental health, you need to see a GP, you need to get it checked out. Don't just accept it that it might be just, you're having an off day. And the big thing that I want to say is self-care. I love me. And nobody can love me as much as I love me. And because I love me, I'm going to do the best that I can do to make sure I'm the best that I can be. If that means not eating wheat or not drinking milk or not having chicken or making sure I wash my vegetables or getting up to exercise even when I don't want it, I always have to keep in mind that I love me. And if I love me, you should love me too. And the whole world will be a better place. Yeah. So
That is for
self-care,
sure.
especially for athletes, I think it's so important that not every rash is something you should ignore. Simple things like hygiene, changing your underwear when you're sweating it or not wearing it a lot. There's so many issues that athletes have that are just simple self-care. If you love you, you'll do the best. You'll find the information, you'll do the research, you'll put in the effort. Yes, we all need support as women. We all need support as women, but it starts with us. It starts with each individual woman deciding that I'm going to take care of myself. And if we start there, then everybody else that supports us just makes us better, not worse, better.
Yeah. Thanks, Dion. So you heard it. I can't say it's better myself. You can't outtrain your diet. You have to do the work. Eat local. There's a lot on offer. Go easy on yourself. Self-love, self-care, self-talk, all of these are important. Listen to your body. Don't assume that, well, it's maybe a gas pain and I could just kind of walk it off. Listen to your body, check your doctor. And please, 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 those of us who have children in our care, check on them, make sure that they are as active as, getting the kind of level of physical activity, physical exercise and fitness as we are. And always check your mental. Talk to yourself. Love yourself. Dion said it. The doctor said it. Huh? Love yourself. Love yourself. Everything is right with the world. Ladies, thank you so much. This has been tremendous. I could not have imagined having a better conversation on a Wednesday afternoon, just before a public holiday. And I think we've had a great time. The time has flown by. I know a lot of people have been tuning in, and I think you addressed a lot of concerns that I know even in my own groups we've been talking about as women, women who are also aging, if I can say that. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to the Ministry of Sport and Community Development for facilitating. This is our first in a series of panels for the rest of the year as part of the Pink Rain campaign. We are on the road to You Go Girl. There are a whole lot of other activities that the ministry will be promoting. You will be seeing it on their social media spaces and as well through their other official channels. So please keep looking out, ladies and gentlemen, for these upcoming. I know there's going to be a virtual run, so we may not be able to gather and have a run around the savannah or in any of those outdoor spaces. But you could run in your living room. You could run in your backyard. You could keep pace in even in your bedroom. Find a space, get a space, and really get active. So Dr. Dion Mitchell, Zulima Charles, Jessica James, thank you very much. I just want to say also thanks to some of our sponsors who have come on board already. Gatorade distributed by Vemco, Ocean Spray distributed by Massey Distribution, and Playtex distributed by Shine Distributors. You have to always acknowledge your sponsors because they help keep us keep us going. So really and truly, it's really left for me to say thanks. It's been a tremendous opportunity. I've been very honored to have this conversation with you all. I'm looking forward to doing more. And have a great afternoon. Eid Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters as they celebrate their day tomorrow. And let us be safe. Remember all of the, the 3 W's, as I keep, being reminded. Wash your hands, wear your mask, watch your distance. Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye.